Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the new movie Shazam! Fury of the Gods. David F. Sandberg returns from Shazam 1 to direct Shazam 2, and contrary to popular opinion, I actually liked the first movie. Even though the trailers for Shazam 2 made it look absolutely awful, I wanted to check it out. The synopsis is as follows. Bestowed with the powers of the gods, Billy Batson and his fellow foster kids are still learning how to juggle teenage life with their adult superhero alter egos. When vengeful daughters of ancient gods arrive on Earth in search of the magic stolen from them long ago, Shazam and his allies get thrust into a battle for their superpowers, their lives, and the fate of the world. So without further ado, let's get into the 6 things that make a movie great. 1. The plot. Upon this movie's open, Billy is kind of going through a crisis of character. He still doesn't believe that he's worthy of the powers that were given to him by the wizard, and while his while his fellow foster siblings were all a team at one point, they all seem to be wanting to do their own thing. While this is going on, 2 powerful beings find their way into a museum where they locate the staff of power that was broken by Shazam at the end of the first movie. They begin trying to hunt down Shazam and his family to steal their powers. We end up finding out that these are the daughters of Atlas and that the powers of Shazam were taken from Atlas by the wizard. What ends up happening in this film is honestly nothing very interesting. The daughters of Atlas have different ideas about how they should go about enacting revenge or trying to destroy Shazam and steal the powers back, and it all just comes across very convoluted. Look, for me, what made the first movie interesting and heartfelt was the undertone of family and connection that was throughout the movie. And Shazam 2 had the opportunity to do that, but they threw it away. And all it would take is storytelling to make the connections, but they chose not to. You come to the end of this film disappointed with the outcome, and honestly feel like nothing really that big happened. So for me, plot gets a huge thumbs down. 2 is family friendliness. Shazam is rated PG-13, and though it's filled with some mild to moderate profanity and a handful of action sequences and scary looking characters, for me it was a lot tamer than the first one. They do decide to check a box in this movie with one of the siblings, which absolutely does nothing for the film at all, which, like I've mentioned before, proves that they're only doing it for one reason, and that's just to check a box. The things you see in this movie are not crazy compared to any other fantasy or superhero movie that you've seen. So for me, family friendliness gets a 50-50. 3 is acting and script. Oh boy, here we go. In the words of Billy Batson, the acting and script of this movie sucked balls. Since there's not a lot of good, I'll just start with that. The interactions between Freddy and the wizard are the best part about this movie. Altogether, it's only about a 5-minute sequence, but every moment that they're in dialogue together, it is funny. I didn't laugh out loud a single time in this movie, but those moments made me chuckle. Everyone and everything else about this movie as far as acting and script goes were awful. Lucy Liu arguably delivers the worst performance of her career to date. Helen Mirren is completely underutilized, as are all of the other talented actors and actresses in this film. It seems like they try too hard to juggle everything and it ends up being this muddled mess in the script. Oh boy. While there were childish moments in the script in the first movie, I still thought that a lot of it was funny and there was a decent balance between childish and adult themes. The script in this movie was absolutely abysmal. There's no balance whatsoever, and consequently, none of the script is funny. So many of the lines are completely empty and worthless, and I just kind of sat there in shock like, what happened to this movie? Even the background characters, like the frightened citizens that are running around, even those moments are weird and poorly acted. For me, acting and script get a huge thumbs down. 4 is character development. Shazam is a very interesting character to me, and I was really hoping that this movie would help bridge the gap between Billy Batson struggling to find himself worthy of these powers from the wizard while dealing with these very real villains and real-world situations, and that he would step into being more of a man while still having some childish tendencies. Unfortunately, he seems stuck right in the same exact situation that he was in the first film, and he never eclipses it. There is no moment of him becoming a man. There's no growth whatsoever. And unfortunately, it seemed like this movie had the Eternals effect, where they had so many different characters and they did a terrible job juggling them to the point where you felt nothing for any of them, including Billy Batson. And the villains in this movie were about as absent as Billy's real parents. They're barely in the film and they don't get any character development at all. And I can't help but wonder if this movie would have leaned into the undertone of family dynamic like they did in the first movie, it honestly could have saved the film. But all the things that made you feel and care about the characters in the first movie are gone in this film. Character development gets a huge thumbs down. 5 is visuals and CGI. The visuals and CGI in this movie are decent. In fact, they're better than they looked in the commercial. There weren't any CG moments that pulled me out of the film, but they just didn't do anything that wowed me. So for me, visuals and CGI, I get a 50-50. And 6 is rewatchability. Shazam! Fury of the Gods is 2 hours and 10 minutes long, and because it just seems like a CG slugfest with no substance, it feels really long. It really wouldn't have been that hard for them to incorporate the subtone of family and save this film, but they just didn't connect the dots, and it leaves you at the end of the film with a very disappointing movie. Considering the fact that Shazam's future in James Gunn's DCU is dependent on how well this movie does, I honestly don't know that we'll be seeing Shazam anytime soon. And even after this movie's 2 post-credit sequences, you still don't find yourself very interested in what's happening moving forward. This movie was boring and disappointing. Rewatchability gets a huge thumbs down. With all these areas considered, I have to give Shazam! Fury of the Gods a 4 out of 10. This movie had a couple moments that made me chuckle and a couple decent acting performances, but that was it. It had no character development, one of the worst scripts I've ever seen on screen, absolutely lifeless villains. I kind of figured it'd be bad given the trailers, but I didn't expect it to be this bad. So with that being said, I would definitely not recommend wasting your time or money going to see Shazam 2 in theaters. Thank you so much for watching. If you've seen Shazam! Fury of the Gods, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. As always, I appreciate your love and support, and I'll catch you guys and gals in the next one.